Celtic world has more than its share of the supernatural, legends, and myth, which sometimes cross the line into reality. I tell those tales here on Dark Celtic History. The Water Horse of Loch Beiste. The beach at Mellon Udrigle and Wester Ross is stunning aqua blue waves lap against white sands, giving the shoreline an almost tropical feel. However, the backdrop is distinctly Scottish, with views of Suilven, the mountains of Coigach and An Teallach, the forge, that's what that means. Yet, for all the tranquility of the spot, once upon a time something more sinister was said to lurk in the depths of the nearby loch. Loch Beiste, or the Loch of the Beast, was said to be the home of a Each-Uisge, or shape-shifting water horse. That's what Each-Uisge means. The water horse is similar to a kelpie, but whereas the kelpie is said to dwell in rivers and streams, the Each-Uisge is the denizen of the freshwater and sea lochs of Scotland. However, this water spirit is said to be far more vicious and cruel than a kelpie. It can disguise itself as a fine horse, a handsome man, or even a giant bird called the boobrie. Now, whilst in the horse's form, a human is only safe to ride the Each-Uisge on dry land. Once it smells water, its skin becomes like an adhesive. Its rider is held captive and the creature returns to the deepest part of the loch. After its victim is drowned, the Each-Uisge tears its meal apart and devours it, leaving only the liver, which floats to the water surface. Now, understandably, the locals who lived in this remote corner of the Western Highlands were clearly not impressed to have such a ferocious neighbor living in their backyard. Who could tell why, when they or their children or even their livestock would become the beast's next meal? Now, depending on who is telling the story, the next series of events occurred either in 1840 or 1864. Apparently, the locals could no longer tolerate the prospect of becoming the creature's next meal and implored the owner of the estate, Mr. Banks, to make measures to put an end to the beast. Alas, initially his tenants' beseeching fell on deaf ears, until one fateful day when Sandy MacLeod, an elder of the Free Church of Scotland, was returning from service in Olde Bay. She was in the company of two other witnesses when they saw the beast, a creature which was said to resemble the upturned keel of a good-sized boat. Soon after, Kenneth Cameron, also an elder of the Free Church, saw the water horse too. Now, who could be more reputable than two elders of the kirk? It seemed there was no alternatives, and Banks decided to jump into action by pumping out the water from the loch. Now, with the water now standing at half a meter, the beast, well, he was still at large. Banks sent his boat, the Iris, to Broadford in Skye to procure 14 barrels of lime. Banks could not persuade any of the terrified tenants to enter the loch, so he called on two of the crew from the Iris to do the job for him. Entering the loch in a small rowboat, James and Alan Mackenzie began probing the waters with their oars. At length, now they found a hole 2.5 fathoms deep. Surely this must be where the beast had its lair. They poured lime into the cavity, and strangely, the beast, it didn't show itself in that loch that day or ever since. But the beast is not thought to have died, because when the crowd of tenants, happy with what they have done, came back to Mr. Banks' estate to his house to celebrate the beast's death, they found the body, or what was left of Sandy MacLeod, and her liver upon an altar of bones, with hoof prints leading over the hill behind Mr. Banks' home.